Thank you very much. I'd like to take a few minutes here to support the effort to pass the FY 2018 budget resolution. I'm on the Budget Committee. I'm pretty familiar with the document. It provides a pathway to balance. It actually has a $197 billion surplus in 2027. It allows for tax cuts, and to those Republicans and Democrats too, you're welcome to join. The only way we're ever going to meaningfully get a tax cut is pass a budget reconciliation instruction. This budget allows us to cut taxes. I hope some Democrats will join us, but if they choose not to, we can do it with a simple majority. If you don't pass this budget, we can't cut taxes unless you get 60 votes. Our friends on the other side it's going to be hard to get any Democrats, I think, for a meaningful tax cut. They're not bad people. They just see things differently. When they spend money, they think that's good. They don't worry about the deficit. When we cut taxes, the deficit's the most important thing. My belief is not only will we will not have a deficit, we'll actually have a surplus, because this budget does two things. It restrains spending by $5.1 trillion over the next decade, and it actually creates a system for tax cuts to spur economic growth. If you could just grow the GDP number by 1%, that's trillions of dollars of revenue. And to those who are interested in this, we're growing at about 1.9% of GDP per year over the last 8 years, right around 2, sometimes under, sometimes a bit over. The historical average since World War II is 3.2. If we could get back to 3.2% GDP growth, there would be trillions of dollars coming into the Treasury, and I believe we can. President Trump is trying to deregulate America after 8 years of heavy regulation, but he can only do so much through executive order. Senator Sullivan, the presiding officer, talked about the opportunities in Alaska. I've learned a lot about Alaska. There's 750,000 people living in a state twice the size of Texas. Beautiful as it can be, environmentally you're very sensitive. That's one of the qualities of Alaska you want to preserve. But God has blessed Alaska with a lot of natural resources that would be good for the people of Alaska and the United States as a whole. Every liter of gas and barrel of oil we can extract from Alaska in an environmentally sound way is less to buy from people who hate your guts. We're going to be using oil and gas for a long time to come. I want to move to a lower carbon economy. I think that'd be good for the environment, good for our economy. But Alaska's been blessed with natural resources, and I think Senator Sullivan explained how sensitive they are in the extraction process, but it would be insane to take Alaska oil and gas exploration off the table for America, because in that area, Russia's all over the place, and trust me, they don't care about the environment. One thing this budget doesn't do, it doesn't change the Budget Control Act caps. There's one member of our caucus who claims that this budget is somehow fiscally irresponsible. It is not. It actually leads to a surplus, and there's nothing in this budget that allows for more defense spending. The Overseas Contingency Operation Account is money set aside for our military and State Department to deal with the wars that we're fighting that are not part of the Budget Control Act. We've been doing that for years. So to anybody suggest that this authorizes an explosion of spending on the defense side, you literally don't know what you're talking about. If you looked at the details of the budget, you would find out it cuts spending by $5.1 trillion and actually has a $197 billion surplus 10 years from now. But I want to let the body know, and the presiding officer will be right in that fight, that I, along with Senator McCain, President Trump, General Mattis, Senator Sullivan, Senator Blunt, and many others are going to do everything we can to give the military more resources to fight wars we can't afford to lose. So I look forward to this debate with some of my colleagues on the other side and a few on this side. Really, is it smart to have the smallest Navy since 1915? Is it really smart to have an Army 1940 size, given what's going on in the world? Having fighter squadrons grounded, not because the enemy has shot us down, but because the Congress has shot us down. We're spending about 3.2% of GDP on defense. Historically, since World War II, it's been about 5%. Tell me how you justify spending that much less today, given the world we have to deal with. Where is the peace dividend? Since 2011, when sequestration was passed, the world has deteriorated. President Trump is promising to rebuild the military, give them the capability they need to keep the enemies at bay, and not fight wars with one hand tied behind their back. So I will be working with Senator McCain and many others to make sure that our military is replenished, that we do have a 350-ship Navy, not 278, that we have an Army consistent with the threats of about 520,000 versus 420,000. The number one job of the Congress and the federal government is to defend the nation. So that's a different debate. That's not part of the budget. The budget resolution doesn't change defense spending caps. Hopefully we can do that later, working with our Democratic friends. So this is the last best chance we will have to cut taxes. If this budget resolution fails, the ability to cut taxes on President Trump's watch goes away. So to those of you on the Republican side who've been claiming we need tax cuts and a simpler tax code, this is your chance. If we don't succeed now, we're going to fail for the next, the entire term of President Trump. That will be the end of us as a party. Because if you're a Republican and you don't want to simplify the tax code and cut taxes, what good are you to anybody? Our friends on the other side have really invested in the government. Somebody needs to be involved in American politics who would actually like to send more money to you and less money to the government in a responsible way. So we're going to cut the corporate tax rate, I hope, to make us competitive. We're going to double the standard exemption so that working people will have more money in their pocket. We're going to clean up some of the deductions and exemptions for the few at the expense of the many. But we can only do that if we pass a budget resolution. Final thought. From a party point of view, from the Republican Party point of view, we've got the House, the Senate, and the presidency. We've got nobody to blame in this exercise but ourselves. And if you're a Republican and you're frustrated with the lack of progress, count me in. The president is a willing partner to help us repeal and replace Obamacare and to get a healthy tax cut to grow an economy that's dying to grow. But we have to help ourselves. If we can't muster the votes necessary to pass this budget resolution to cut your taxes, then everybody who supported us for all these years should feel let down, and we did let you down. I hope that doesn't happen. I'm confident it won't. But to those Republicans who believe that a no vote is good for the future of conservatism and the future of the economic well-being of the country, I could not disagree with you more. You will never balance the budget by dealing with discretionary spending alone. We're at 2008 levels of discretionary spending. What balances the budget is entitlement reform. If you want to balance the budget, vote for Graham Cassidy, because it finally puts Medicaid in a sustainable path, and we got to deal with our entitlement problem, but that's not in this budget reconciliation instruction. This instruction allows us to cut taxes with a majority-only vote and gets to balance with a surplus in 2027. From a Republican point of view, this is the most important vote we're going to cast in 2017. And if we fail, that's the end of this party's ability to grow. And all those who worked hard to get us here are going to be disappointed, and you should be. But we're not going to disappoint you. We're going to pass this budget resolution. We're going to cut your taxes, and we're eventually going to repeal and replace Obamacare, which is failing with a block grant that gets the money and power closer to where you live in the hands of the people you can vote for. We're going to succeed. With that, I yield the floor.